for?
Oh wow, safety. The UK has become less, especially London, because we have the whole phone snatchers situation.
Let's talk about Mogul. She was born in London, works full-time remote as a UX web designer, and has had enough. The cost of living in the UK, especially in central London, has gotten so out of hand, she literally can't afford her own flat. Tesco is locking up meat, so Mogul's planning her move. Not just for affordability, but to reconnect with her roots as a Thai girl born abroad. She's heading to Thailand to reclaim some space, some peace, and a sense of home. And if you stick around to the end, she shares a wild story about phone snatchers in the streets of London. Before we get into today's episode, quick heads up. If you're thinking about relocating, retiring early, or just getting out of the grind, I've got free guides, a full course, and a newsletter that breaks it all down. You'll find everything linked below or at costoflivingabroad.com.
Hi, my name is Mogul, and what I do on YouTube is actually a mix of creating and travel vlog.
What is making you seriously consider leaving the UK for Thailand?
I would say it would have been cost of. I've never actually lived in Thailand properly, but it's something I aspire to do. I was looking at the centre, so like Tonglaw, Asok, expat heavy area.
What were the costs you were seeing, like monthly, were you looking at studios, one bedrooms?
I was looking at like 1 bedroom apartments. Would you call it a studio? It's just like it would be like a condo with a living room space, bedroom, and obviously in the living room space there's also sometimes a kitchen area, which is the spacing is quite generous in terms of the budget I'm looking for. So the budget I kept seeing come up was around 300 something for rent per month to 500 to 600 pound per month. But there are a lot cheaper ones. For the quality might not be as good, but it's like still livable, and I would still consider, so around 200 as well range. They're a bit more expensive for Thai locals, I'd say, or just in general they are a bit more expensive than the ones a bit further out. Whereas if I was looking at London, central London, if we're just talking about rent per month for 1 bedroom, say like 1.5k minimum to stay per month, just for rent, not including bills.
So that's like $2,000 US. So you're saying like a basic, like single, like your first flat after you move out from your parents' place in London will cost you $2,000.
Basically, especially if it's in central London, and it's not exactly the same quality as like a condo in Thailand. You don't get a swimming pool, you don't get all the perks that come with the condo. I want to expand my knowledge on Thai culture in Thailand, because obviously that's where I'm from, ethnically, and a country that I'm very, very proud of being from, and I love to bits. So it just makes sense for me to indulge myself in that environment, as opposed, because obviously I grew up in the UK. I think I need the change. It's not that much better, it's only a little bit better, but cost of living, it might not be that much cheaper, but the quality of things you get from the money you spend there is, the quality is so much higher, whether it be food, environment, obviously you get the swimming pool and the gym in the same apartment. There's no excuse for me to not go now. Thailand would be somewhere I would love to live, like when I'm older, like permanently retire. And fourth reason is I'm kind of fed up of the UK.
Let's talk about what you're fed up with in the UK. And
Number one, cost of living. Everything's increasing. Rent, food, transport, to the point where like it's hard to enjoy living. Living here, I'd say like comfortably, it's hard to enjoy. Like it's a very like rat race mentality here, where you have to keep upskilling, so that you can be able to survive here. Like living here is kind of like about survival rather than actually, taking your time to enjoy the small things in life. People tend to, I think, lose track of that quite quickly because of how much work we have to do a lot of the time. Whereas in Asia, I would see people with like, I would say like a lifestyle that's very appreciative. People are very appreciative with like what they have.
If you work harder, you'll be more successful, or life
Yeah.
will be better. Or if you work
Yeah.
more, like if there's like a problem in your life, the answer is like, well, do more work. That will fix it. And you know, it's kind of bullshit. Obviously, you're not Farang, but how do you feel when you go to Thailand? Clearly, you've grown up abroad, like your accent, everything, right?
I go for ages about this. It's more like, so first of all, when I go to Thailand,
Yeah, go ahead.
no one ever says Sawadee Ka to me. That's the first, because they don't think I'm Thai. When I go there, it's always either like Ni Hao, or like hi, welcome, or like Konnichiwa, and I'm like and I say to them, oh, Ben Kon Thai. I say like I'm Thai, and they're like, oh really? You don't look it, and I'm just like, especially when I go out with my family, when we go to like markets and stuff. My parents try to say like, oh, don't speak English because they're gonna think we're foreigners and they're gonna like upcharge us. I think Thai locals like to upcharge. I know it's not a good thing, but like sometimes they like to upcharge with foreigners because they're like, oh, they have money and stuff. And I was just like, oh, I could just say I'm from an international school, it's fine. But then my Thai is okay, like pretty decent, but I think there's definitely, with my relatives and the locals, they would always say I still have a strong British accent when I speak Thai. And obviously, growing up, my parents would speak to me in Thai, but obviously, like when you're around, I live in the UK, I obviously speak English to everyone. You know what? I think I do get special treatment because they know that I'm like half, as in like, I'm actually half like Thai Chinese, but I can't speak Chinese at all. It's just like from my dad's side they're Chinese, but they were all born and raised in Thailand. So, and I get special treatment there usually because of like they think I'm half Thai and half something. So like I would get half Thai and half white a lot, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not, but a lot of celebrities would be half Thai, half white, like Asian. It'd be considered like a compliment to be called that, and I used to like eat that up when I was younger. I'd be like, yes, like I feel like special is quite nice. But when I struggle to speak Thai, I think the locals are very patient as well, and they understand like, oh, she can't speak Thai very well, so they're quite patient with me. Because I have a remote job, I work from home. So I have the flexibility from the UK. I have the flexibility to travel to Southeast Asia. I would say when it comes to working from home, there's not really that much difference, especially because you're working within the four walls, isn't it? But I think also when I'm there, I try to change my environment as well, since I have such a long time to be there.
Compared to the part of the UK where you're from and you live, versus like how much it costs, just your standard sort of breakfast, lunch, and dinner in Thailand or Malaysia.
Comparison for pricing is a lot more expensive here than it is in Asia. When it comes to eating out specifically, so if I was to eat out for breakfast, for example, it would probably be around, say, like £15 to £20 for breakfast here, whereas in Malaysia or Thailand, Southeast Asia, it'd be around no more than £3 really, maximum £5 depending on where you go. But if I try to eat locally, it's less than £3 in comparison. But yeah, when it comes to dinner, it's much more expensive. It would be around, say, London prices would be around £30 to £40 per person. In Asia, if it were talking about a middle class restaurant, it'd probably be 10 to 15.
It's like 3% on, so like £15 is like $20. Is one of the reasons why you live with your parents still? Is it more cultural, or is it more about the cost of living in the UK?
I would say both. The cost of living in London is very scary. Trying to save money, and also a cultural thing as well. I think Asian families tend to stay with each other for longer, even if you do live outside of Asia.
So what are your total monthly expenses, or what's your total monthly spend in London versus when you go back to Thailand?
So, because obviously I live with my parents, I do pay rent here, which is around 500. Obviously, adding all the miscellaneous stuff, like subscriptions and all that, bills, whatever, comes around almost 700 per month. In comparison to, I was calculating Bangkok, I think it would be a bit more expensive to live in Bangkok as opposed to living with my parents, but that's me living alone, like living alone, having my own space, being in the center. It would probably come around 700 to 800 pound per month for like rent and bills and all the activities I would be willing, like wanting to do there, like comfortably.
Like £800 is about a little less than $1,100, and like I think yeah, for like $1,100 or $1,200 a month, you can live really nice in Bangkok. Did you find it like easier or like more chill to live in somewhere multicultural like KL, and somewhere where there's lots of different accents, and people wouldn't maybe not even know you were from the UK?
I think because obviously we know that Malaysia is within like the British Commonwealth, so there's a lot, like you say, there's a lot of international people that are situated there. I made a couple friends, or I know of a few people from Malaysia in the UK, and I think they were very, very friendly and very outgoing to want to meet up with me. And I think it's also because the fact that a lot of Malaysians, or I would say all Malaysians, can speak English because that's one of their main languages as well. Because you'd have like so many different cultures or like ethnicities, like India, Chinese. I had a Chinese Malaysian friend that I met there. She was very accommodating, very nice, and Malaysian. I had like Indian Malaysian friend and Malaysian friends, and I don't know whether it's just because I already knew them, that they were very like warm and friendly to me. I'd say in terms of communication with Malaysians, it's a lot easier and a bit more chill for me because of there's not much of as much of a language barrier. Whereas like in Thailand, I feel like obviously it's within my responsibility to learn more Thai to be able to communicate with Thai people, and obviously I want to improve that. But I did find it a bit more challenging with the more difficult words that I wasn't familiar with. But I think like both places were the people were equally just as friendly. Yeah.
What about like safety? Like compared to the UK, how do you feel as a young woman or a solo traveler, your safety back home, like or in London, central London, versus how you feel in Bangkok or in Kuala Lumpur?
Oh wow, safety. The UK has become less safe as time went on, especially London. You know what? I think because when you're familiar with something, it just feels monotone. It doesn't really feel anything exciting. I think I'm so desensitized to the chaos in London that I don't even find it very scary anymore. But I'd say in terms of safety, because we have the whole phone snatchers situation, because of the cost of living increasing here, a lot of items, so for example there would be like a pack of steak that would be cased up in a plastic box in a supermarket, in literally Tesco's supermarket, and I felt like it was a bit extreme, but it was kind of needed in the area that I went to in London, because with London I feel like there are safe areas.
I don't understand.
So
What's the phone
like
snatcher situation, and what are you talking about in Tesco?
Oh, so let me elaborate. So the phone snatcher situation is you'd walk down the street with your phone out. You have to be very careful of having your phone out in public when you're walking down the street, because there would be people on mopeds or electric bikes they will drive around, and especially when you're like not aware of your surroundings, they'll target people like that and drive up very fast and snatch your phone and drive off. I witnessed it happen to someone in front of me, and I've also been told by people within the dance community in London that it's happened to them as well, to some people. Yeah, so you can't. It doesn't really feel safe to have your phone out. Like, especially when I'm looking for directions, I try not to have it out. I try to kind of like look around me first and then look at my directions, or I try to stay within the corner of the station, like on the side, and look for my route first, and then whip it out like very quickly. Not in a paranoid way, but just being very cautious the whole time of my surroundings. Yeah, theft is something that's an issue here because of obviously cost of living.
What about the Tesco thing? Explain this
So,
to me. 'Cause I don't.
okay,
I don't understand.
do you have a Tesco's in Canada or not? It's a
Well,
supermarket.
it's like a big like a supermarket or a grocery store, right? Yeah. But what
Yeah,
are they
yeah,
boxing up? They're boxing up meat. I don't understand because it's being stolen.
Oh, so yeah, they're boxing up meat. They're boxing up meat in like security boxes. So when you go to the till, you have to get them to remove it before you buy it, or when you're buying it, for example. And yeah, there was because like obviously it will prevent someone from stealing it, because if they steal it, like the security alarm will go off. Even though it's only £6, people will still try to steal it, which for me is crazy.
Yeah, like that's kind of blowing my mind. There's so much food being stolen from grocery stores that they're putting they're like security tagging meat in the grocery store in the UK. That's intense. How do you feel in Bangkok? Like, do you feel safe going out alone, riding the metro, etc.? Like, what's the equivalent situation like in Bangkok as a 25-year-old woman?
I think that's quite hard to answer. The thing is, I would love to say Bangkok feels safer, but for me, I
Thanks
don't.
for listening to the Cost of Living Abroad pod. For full interviews, find us on YouTube at Cost of Living Abroad pod. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to let you know that if you're struggling with the cost of living crisis back at home and looking for a sustainable and affordable way to relocate your life abroad, check out our resources, courses, and community at costoflivingabroad.com.